Well, everyone, the iPhone 8 has been out for a little bit of time now, so let's go and see how this particular iPhone holds up in the later part of 2023. Now, clearly this is not the best iPhone anymore, and there's obviously going to be problems if you go through and actually still use this iPhone, but I do think for the most part, you're still having a really decent time with this particular phone, and I still think for the most part, I would still say it's probably still a really decent iPhone, for that every single person should consider kind of buying if you want a super old iPhone, but I wouldn't recommend going much lower than the iPhone 8, and I don't think you can use this iPhone for like another year or two, to be honest. So the exterior of this phone has still stayed exactly the same. You're still getting that 4.7-inch IPS panel, and I still think it's a pretty good looking panel nonetheless. Like, I feel like Apple did a good job when this iPhone first came out, but this thing looked already old when it first came out because this thing basically had that, 4.7-inch panel, but like I said before, it was already outdated because it basically, you did kind of miss out on that, iPhone 10 display that iPhone had. So that was just one of the minor things to keep in mind, not like a big deal or anything, but that was one thing that we did kind of notice at that moment. Beyond that though, the iPhone 8 still had that lightning port at the bottom, glass on the back, which looked very, very good. Like, it's still a very good looking back for the most part, which is very cool. And beyond that, there's not really like a whole lot else that's like super crazy or super weird with this phone. But like I said, I'm still a huge fan of the way the iPhone 8 looked. Obviously, it doesn't really look like a good phone anymore, but when it first came out, it still, it was still kind of good when it, first came out. Beyond that though, the biggest thing that changed this year, especially from the mid part of this year, is that this thing is no longer getting software support. So that's kind of the biggest problem, I would say. Is it a problem? I don't know. But it pretty much isn't getting software updates anymore, which is kind of sad. So if you wanted to get an iPhone that was still supported with software, you'd have to go for the iPhone 10 or above. This iPhone is no longer getting software support. So that in and of itself is a very, very big thing to keep in mind. I'm sure you do not want to get a phone that's, no longer supported with software. And that's basically what's going on. You're not going to be getting software support on the iPhone 8 anymore. Well, you're going to be getting security updates, but you're not going to be getting like full-fledged software updates that you probably expect on other devices. So that is without a doubt one of the biggest changes and one of the biggest problems that you're going to be experiencing with the iPhone 8. Now, funny enough, I did do a speed comparison between the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 15. I did a full-on comparison, and I will definitely tell you the iPhone 8 is, definitely not holding its own anymore. It's definitely an older iPhone, which is probably what you'd expect on a device like this. And that's just what kind of happens when you're getting an older device, like when you're getting an iPhone 8. So within that specific comparison, the iPhone 8 was much slower. It's definitely a slower iPhone. It's definitely not, performing that great anymore. And like I said, that's just kind of what happens when you're getting these types of devices. So beyond that, is it a really big difference? Yes, like, you're going to be getting a severely slow phone on something like the iPhone 8s rather than the iPhone 15s or even an iPhone 11. Like, an iPhone 11 is going to be giving you a much better, phone in every single way than something like the iPhone 8 as well. So that's another big thing to keep in mind. So performance-wise, basically everything across the board, the iPhone 8 is a much slower phone, and now that this thing has basically gotten unsupported with software a little bit, it makes even less sense of buying this particular phone. So overall, what I'll tell you is, I do think the iPhone 8, being a good phone, it was a good phone when it first came out, it's still a really good device, but it's not really a phone I'd recommend people to buy. It doesn't make any sense at all, and you are much, much better off buying something like an iPhone, 11, an iPhone 10R, those types of phones that are still supported, buying those things over this thing, in my opinion. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that will mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.